Howdy folks, welcome to Little John's and today's version of the whiskey jar. Been a while since we've done a whiskey jar, haven't been making any whiskey, so there's been not a lot to really put on. I'm about to get back into the whiskey. I'm just waiting on some supplies to pan out. I'm getting back into playing around because well, I've missed doing it actually. It's probably been 18 months since I've run a batch through the still of any kind, so I've been working a little bit on I've been building up a bit more of the commercial side, but it's time to get going a little bit more. So there'll be more videos coming for you guys that do like this side of the alcohol production, more so, maybe not even more so than the beer, but alongside the beer perhaps. I think, for a lot of us, the beer and whiskey, or just spirits in general, sort of go hand in hand for most of us. But anyway, let's not rave on too much. What I want to talk about today is the process, not so much the process, but just in general, talking about proofing down, specifically I'm talking about, bourbon style whiskey, American style whiskey, but this works for any whiskey at all that you're making, doesn't really matter. It all has the same sort of effect, but mainly focusing on the ability we have to make so many different, get so many different types of spirit out of our initial ferment, out of that initial product, which, as I said, this is what's led me back to get back into making my own again. Commercial stuff's great, but at 60 to 150 bucks a bottle, it's pricey, and you don't get a lot of chance to do a lot of variety as a result. So when you can make it for yourself and you can do it for $8-10 bucks a litre, you get a lot more chance to play around, and this is what I want to talk about today, how we go through doing that. So quickly before we get there, shout out to the Little John's Patreons, guys who help support the channel, make everything happen. Thank you very much. There's a link down the bottom if you're interested, click on it. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you are, thank you. And if you like what's happening, give us a thumbs up. But anyway, I'm going to start with a pour here. Just a little fella. And this is, what I've got here is 5 bottles. You can't see them all at the moment. I've got 5 bottles sitting here. And this is pretty much, this is probably 90% of what I've got left on hand from what I've made previously. And what I did is I ended up with pretty much what I had here in the barrels. You've seen previously. I've had 2 barrels. I had the one barrel which I was using as a Solera. I was topping up and taking bottles from that from each batch, and then I had the one barrel that I was left, and I was just leaving that to age on its own. I was having a problem with the barrels losing volume, so I ended up bottling it, get everything out of them bottling. But this is the remnants of it. So basically what I ended up with though was a reasonable amount of stuff that had been barrel aged. Granted, it's only small barrels, but they've been barrel aged. So it was sitting at a high proof, and I went through and I bottled it up, and I've bottled at several different proofs and in several different, and one slightly different method, which particularly is this fella here. So I've got a 6 bottle here. I've got one last one. I'm just running it quickly through a filter, just through a coffee filter, a paper filter, because it had a little bit of floaties in the bottom of the bottle. I don't know exactly what that's from. We obviously hadn't filtered it properly initially. But anyway, so what I've got here is this. This is a combination of mainly the smaller Solera barrel, which was a mix of a few different things. So what would end up being was a mix of sort of generation 5 and 6 of UJSSM, the Uncle Jesse's, and then a combination and also of the LJ USM Little John's updated sour mash, and also the hybrid, some of the hybrid corn mash which I did as well, all combined into that one barrel and all come out together, and that's resulted in this fella. Now this is, it's about 16.5% alcohol, so 120, about 121 proof. I've got it labelled here at 61%. All the bottles are labelled here. I've just ran the alcometer over these just to confirm. This is showing about 60.5. This fella got labelled at 60, was showing about 58.5. So they've dropped a little bit of alcohol with some time, and that's not completely unexpected. But what I'm looking at is going from this high proof bourbon, which is essentially going to be quite strong and flavoursome, and adjusting that plan around and seeing what you come up with. So what I've got, as I said, I've got 3 bottles over here which I've just cut from this. Just simply cut the proof down. One at 49%, there's one at 42, and there's one at 38. So I'm going to just estimate these are probably 1% ABV below what they're sort of labelled at. So this final bottle, which we're going to, let's call it 37%, is below the requirement to be considered a bourbon, outside the fact it wasn't made in bloody any of the bourbon counties of America, but for the style it is technically doesn't pass the rating because it's under 40%. It's under that 80 proof, but that was just where it was with what was there, was basically to get that bottle full, just where it finished up at. So I'm not too worried. Again, I'm not worried about that. 37%, 40%, not a big difference. This fella, it's this stuff taken out of the barrel and then was put on oak and was left on oak for another 6 months, just oak staves, and redone. And it's quite a bit darker now. I might as well bloody, I'm not going to drink this, so I can put it back in the bloody bottle. Which is probably a bit fucking heathenistic, but anyway. I don't know as to how much it's going to show up for you guys, but yeah, there is a fair few shades of dark, extra dark in that. Yeah, I'm not going to start these simply because first whiskey of the day, I really don't want to dive straight into a big barrel proof. So what I'm going to do is going to start here. And as I said, we're looking at making variations. Now, this is one whiskey, but what do we get out of that one whiskey? Just simply by watering it down and changing the proof, what difference does it make? Now, yeah, obviously it makes it weaker. Weaker is simply an expression for lower alcohol though. Let's not take weaker as necessarily less flavour, unless we've proven otherwise. Now, I've got to say it was never really impressive, super impressive how this turned out of the barrel. I thought it had lost a little bit of its little bit of its flavour. Yeah, I'm just going to crack these lids, just let these breathe a fraction. Because these bottles, they haven't been, I really don't think I've even drunk any of these since they've been bottled up. So they're a bit harsh, just initially. And let me tell you, don't worry about that sort of thing happening with your homemade. Got a bottle of the Jack Daniels single barrel, which is 64.5% ABV. I've only got it recently, bought it for my birthday, and I popped it, poured a drink, and oh Jesus, it was. I thought, Jesus, I've blown me fucking money here. This is a complete waste. It was really hard to drink. And then I cracked it again, like probably about 2 days later, and had another one, and it was was softer and yeah, much more much more enjoyable. So be aware of that. When you're first making up your batch, when you're first filling up, that you can get quite heavy notes in your grog. And also, your second mouthful is not going to be the same as that first, especially the first one of the day. Right, so that's 40. Let's call it 48%. So that's well above, your standard store-bought sort of level. So you're not quite, a bit under that 100 proof. So it's carrying, a good amount of alcohol. It's still carrying plenty of oil. It's quite slick and it's quite heavy on the mouth, and there's a nice burn in the back of it. So that the heavy, it's still fairly heavy noted, and I found this particularly from this barreling process. Now, bearing in mind that some of that stuff that was in that barrel had been oaked previously, so technically it's probably a little heavier oaked than some is going to be, but the process and the rationale is still the same. Yeah, this isn't about the flavour, it's about the changes. So I said, that's still a fairly heavy and intense sort of a drink. It's not, it's not your, let's call it your table version of bourbon. This more is. Label at 42, so we're gonna say we're about 41. So this is closer to, that's a bloody wonderful sound, isn't it? The glugging of a bottle of bourbon is one of the greatest sounds on the planet. It's up there with the laughter of fucking babies, I'll tell you. So we can see there, now we're getting a very, very different colour expression. She's much lighter. Not a lot of difference in the ABV, but which is hard to see there. Again, much lighter, and it's probably it's hard to tell on that bottle because it's got bloody extra label on it. But colour difference is much different. The difference on the nose is immense. that is loaded with the caramels and the burnt sugary notes. It's deep and rich, got dark fruits. That's light. So that's that difference that you can get. See, and there's that's now it's light, it's simple, it's easy to drink. There's no burn. Just that sort of 7% ABV pushing up that proof. It's made an immense difference on how hot the whiskey is, and that's the whole reason that most whiskey is sold at 40%. Apart from the legal requirements aside, because the legal requirements is just purely, I mean, it's not coincidental that 40% is a comfortable level for a spirit to be drunk at. And that's something to do with where that level is sat. And so you're still getting the character, but the difference from those two is incredible. That's soft and still got the same flavours, but they're just not as intense. There's some nice caramel and a little burnt sugar, a little bit of nuttiness, but it's not the same. You go to that, you're in a whole different world. Just as soon as you put it to your nose, you know, hey, this is not the same. And that's a little sip, and that's it's big stuff going on in your mouth. That you're getting, you can get 3 times as much of that in your mouth at a go, and it's much simpler to deal with. This one's still going. It's still playing in the mouth. So it's making a massive difference. That little bit of cutting down, 7%. Now, this fella, as I said, 38% on the label, is probably running 37, so she's not legally required, but it's only 4% lower ABV than the other fella. So it's not real different. Colour's not a heck of a lot different. And again, the nose is just that little bit simpler. There's not much going on there at all. There's still enough nose there to go, okay, I've got something with some potency. That's almost losing that sort of feel. Okay, and that's, I've got to say, that's really probably the point where it is starting to lose the like that character of bourbon. You're not really getting it anymore. It's a little too, it's a little lost, it's a little too disguised and hidden. Now, that's still there. Once it's had a chance against the higher proof. I mean, and that's the thing, always bloody, it means it's hard to cross taste when you, especially hard to go backwards. It's hard to go from a higher proof down to a lower proof. I just didn't really want to start at the lower end. So that's enjoyable on its own for Yeah, for a different reason. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, getting right there, very different whiskies. Same whiskey, the same thing, but they're very different. So always remember when you're making up your whiskey, you're not making one whiskey. You're potentially making, well, yeah, if you're doing let's just say you're doing a standard 20-ish litre wash, and you're going to do that, you're going to do 3 stripping runs and one big spirit run, and you're going to get somewhere in the vicinity of, you know, depending on your original wash size, but somewhere around, you know, 6 to 9 litres of spirit. You're pulling out anywhere from, you know, 14 to, you know, 20 bottles of finished product, depending on how you want to go about cutting it. Potentially, yeah, 14 to 20 individual bottles that are all different. And this is just talking about cutting the proof. This isn't even without getting into oak. Now, again, this is another step again. That's the straight barrel proof. That's with the extra oak. Yeah. Let's say we could call it double oak. I know that's a lot of the commercial guys now. You'll have the double oak versions. I think Woodford Reserve is one that's probably one of the easiest ones to find commercially. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me. I could be wrong. I've got a funny feeling that the Jim Beam Black is double oaked. Not sure, but it certainly has a big it makes for a big difference. So anyway, this is the barrel proof, 60 and a bit % alcohol. That is, it's rich, it's thick and oily. Funnily, it's got, oh, okay, it's got less burn than this 48% I had, but I will say, I have had that bottle open 2 or 3 times in the time that other bottle, the time I've not had this bottle's not been cracked since I filled it. You know, I said something like 18 months ago. It's at least 12 months ago. Don't know, I'd have a look, but it's at least a year ago anyway. This bottle's been opened, you know, 2 or 3 times. I've taken a little bit out of this and had some at different times. This one's not been opened. This was much harsher, despite the fact that this is, you know, 12% higher. I can feel the difference as that's going down. It's actually funny. I was only watching the video, I think last night, Bourbon Junkies, and they were doing a review on, no, I can't remember what the actual topic was, but they were drinking cask strengths, and I can't think of their bloody names off the top of my head, but one of the fellas, he talked about how it gets to there and then you feel it in a different way than you do in the mouth, and that's exactly what that's just doing. It's got to there and you can feel it from that section of your chest, just warm, dragging down your throat. Oh, let's get technical, the esophagus. But that is not as harsh as this, and I think that's because that's breathed a few times. So again, that's going back to that earlier comment about making sure don't take too much stock in that initial tasting. It's give the bottle time to breathe, give the whiskey time to air out. Yeah, don't be afraid to do that. Don't just rush in and then go, oh crikey, that's rugged. That's serious drinking, and a lot of people aren't going to want to drink at that strength, and I get that, I understand that. And you can't sit down and drink too much of that. It's gonna rock you around. But by the same token, you're not drinking that as fast as you're drinking this 41%er. You're gonna slurp that. You're slurping bigger bits of that. They call Jack Daniels a sipping whiskey. I don't even know if you're referred to that much anymore as a sipping whiskey. Sipping. When I grew up, that's how it was always described. Jack Daniels, it's a sipping whiskey. It's for sipping on. That you've got to sip on. It's 2 or 3 mils. It's just enough to get it in your mouth and enjoy the flavours. That you're going to suck down, 5 mil to go, twice as much. Teaspoonful, you're getting more in your mouth. So you're going to drink that a lot slower. So they're a different experience. This fella, it's a double oaked, barrel aged. Technically, I suppose you could say it's almost triple oaked, because some of what was in that barrel was already double oaked, because it was oaked before I went in the barrel. As I said, 58.5%. So this is sitting about the proof of the Wild Turkey rare breed, about that sort of mark. It's nice and strong. The noses, you can smell, it's not exactly the oak itself. No, it is. It's woody, just. Yeah, see, that's caramel. Now those burnt notes. That is just wood. The wood just sneaks over the top of everything. So this is bringing your same product into a whole different place. You're not just watering it down and cutting the flavours around. You're adding to the flavour. Fuck, that's good. Oh, this, wow. Oh, no. This is why you make your own stuff. Moments like this. Yeah, this is, fuck me, that's good. That's taken that to a whole different place. It's the extra oak has taken some of the intensity out of the actual alcohol flavour, but it's just given it so much intensity. It's bringing in some leather. Tobacco, I've never really experienced a massive amount of tobacco in a whiskey. It's like someone's taken an old leather wallet, just a leather wallet, and stuffed it full of fucking tobacco, and then sealed it up for a while. You pull it out. And what you imagine that flavour is that goes with that. It's starting to, it's just coating all down here. But it's not burning, it's warming, but it's not intense. There's intense flavour, but there's none of the intense, ripping at your throat or your mouth. Mind you, if you would throw down a good whack of it, I think you'd get it. Oh yes. That's good. Now, that's what talk about bloody flavours changing, and this is why people talk about ice and stuff in whiskey, because it will change the flavour, because obviously any amount of water that you add to the whiskey takes your proof down. Now, and as I said, this is a big misconception, and this is part of what I'm trying to put across with this. Simply because you've added water to your whiskey and you've taken the alcohol down, you haven't just watered down your whiskey. It's not that simple. And it is nowhere near what happens. You change the flavours by cutting down the alcohol. Making it weaker is just a byproduct. You aren't you're not weakening the flavours, you're just changing them. Even with these fellas over here, we're in this lower range, getting down to the bottom end of the ABV. They've still got their own flavours, they're just different. Calling them weaker is not really the right terminology. It's a bit masochistic, it's a bit on beat my chest and fucking you gotta drink barrel proof, or it's weaker, you're piss weak if you drink normal stuff. That's antiquated, fucking old, outdated and fucking bullshit. It's, to quote the Whisky Tribe, the best way to drink your whiskey is the way you like to drink it. So if you like your whiskey muted or toned down or a little bit simpler, however you want to describe it, however you want to look at it. If 37% is how you like to cut your whiskey at home, to a point where it's not even technically, legally, not that fucking matters, then go for it. That extra oak, just that little touch of water, and probably only enough to probably pull that proof from 58 maybe down to 50, high 40s. But that is very, very drinkable. It's not hot, it's not burning. The flavours aren't intense. It's taken that leathery, tobacco-y note as it's pulled it off a little bit. It's not there. Well, it's still there, but it's not as intense. So just the same as sticking that cube of ice in there makes a difference as you're drinking, and everyone knows that. You don't have to be a fucking it doesn't take a rocket science to know that if you stick a rock of ice in your whiskey, it gets weaker as you drink it. But by the same token, that whiskey changes flavour as you drink it. So if you want to drink your whiskey at the same flavour from start to finish of the glass, drink it neat. They talk about, I see people they talk about drinking neat and all the rest of it, and not adding ice, not watering it down. for me, it's not about watering down. It's about changing the flavour. You can't pour yourself a nip, a finger, a jigger, a shot of whiskey. Now excuse me while I do this. This is bottle number 6. It's just finished filtering. This is the pure barrel aged corn mash. A real corn mash that I spent an hour and a fucking half mashing by hand, stirring, fucking nightmare to make. This is what was in the second barrel. 47%, it's probably 46% now. But as I said, adding an ice cube to this whiskey will constantly change how this whiskey is, how it tastes, and how you react to it. That smells so nice. That is just lovely whiskey. This stuff proves that you can make whiskey at home. The quality of the good stuff, quality of the commercial stuff, better than the commercial stuff quite easily. You go back and watch the videos. I've got the most basic of setups. A Bruzilla boiler with a an okay, you've just lost one chem, which we're not going to be fast losing this one. An Alco engine pot still, very basic, simple process, bottles and staves for the most part, for oak flavouring. And you're making this beautiful quality spirit. The reality is you struggle to buy stuff with the smoothness and the sweetness and the flavour that you're getting out of this stuff. As I said, that's going to change as it goes through in your drink, as the water comes down. That barrel aged double oak, a bit more water in there now. It's changed again. So, but the thing is, there is so many options that you can come up with your whiskey. Play around with them. Don't just make your whole batch and just make everything the same. Even if it's only 3 different ways, take some and do it a certain way, take some and do it another way, take some, I like to take a batch and take some and put some with, just lightly toasted oak, some with a medium oak, some with a dark oak, some with a mix, and then cut them to different strengths and have different bottles. Well, I said, I've got, including what's under the bar, 18 bottles of bourbon sitting here in the garage, which would have cost, probably cost in the vicinity of $1,000. You can make that at home yourself for easy, under 200 bucks. And had the same sort, of thing, had the same sort of variety sitting in your bar with the pride and knowledge that you did it yourself. So, and knowing, yeah, exactly what's in it, where it come from, and at the end of the day, being able to brag to family and friends that you did it yourself. So yeah, it's bloody good. Anyway, guys, that's me. You got any comments, any questions? Stick them down the bottom as always. But for now, that's me done. So again, thank you to everyone who supports the channel, subscribers, Patreons, just the people who watch. Whatever it is, thank you very much. Links are all down the bottom, as we said before. So guys, that's me, Little John. So until I see you again, well, good brewing, good distilling. Either way, cheers. Catch us later.